So, from an assessment perspective, anything can be assessed. There's all these different regulations based off of industry, based off of what the client's doing. Why is CMMC so important?
I would probably take the position that CMMC, at least from the the perspective of the United States, this is actually the very first administrative legal obligation that, if you don't meet the minimum bar, prohibits you from being able to continue doing business with the United States government.
So, how far does that expand? Are we just talking about defense companies like Raytheon and Boeing?
So the government currently estimates that there's roughly 300,000 government contractors that are going to be within the scope of these parameters for what CMMC is designed to cover. And again, CMMC is only a program designed as a third-party mechanism of policing on behalf of the government, that government contractors and defense contractors are not in violation of their contractual terms, to ensure that not only their products, but that their companies are adequately secured. So while, as it stands right now in 2026, it is limited specifically to the Department of War. However, federal civilian agencies in their short order are probably going to be adopting the CMMC obligations, because they already had CUI requirements inherently within their contracts. And they actually have, for the federal civilian side, what they call the CUI rule, which is yet to become final. But by all accounts, it appears, Brian, that federal civilian agencies are kind of playing the wait and see game for how the Department of War is having this all matriculate out. And then from that point, probably in 2027, then adopting that as a means. So in that way, industry doesn't have to continue to demonstrate to one agency versus another, meaning that they're having to pay for 3 independent type of assessments. They can get assessed one time. That certification can be used across many different departments and agencies.
So, Carter, for those watching or listening, can you tell me more what CUI is and means?
So CUI stands for Control and Classified Information. While most of the industry is focusing on this being a fairly new term, it's actually an extension of terms that many individuals who are watching this video may be familiar with, such as SB, sensitive but unclassified, for official use only. So these were parameters that were designated in contractual and government documents since 2005. And this really started to get some steam when Obama had an executive order that came out to basically codify how can we shore up our national security interests by holding industry to a higher standard.
Okay, that's helpful. Does it expand to other things outside of CUI, like things like other information that may be in a federal contract, for an example?
So for the purposes of CMMC, there's 2 line items. One, you have FCI, federal contract information, which will only require a company to be certified at level 1. That's a self-certification within the supplier performance risk system. They basically self-assess. They can't have any findings. They acknowledge and attest that they're good to go. And that focuses on 15 controls with a total of 59 line items that they had to independently swear and attest to that they're in conformance with. And then you have CUI, which is a total of 110 controls and 320 different line items. So the bar is much, much higher for CUI than just for FCI.